All right, working on getting plumbing started for the brakes. So I think I got everything laid out here. I bought all these braided brake cables. Well, these ones were used, I think, on the rear, but they're in pretty nice shape. So luckily they're labeled left, back. So I got the bracket. I had to drill a hole here. I ended up twisting screw off here and had to weld a nut onto it, back it out. But got a hole drilled there for a tapping screw and then a little locating tab up there. So I got it kind of loosely mounted, just snugged up here. Got a clip in here just to kind of hold it in place to kind of get an idea of where things are going to be sitting here. So luckily it looks like there'll be plenty of room for the drive axle here around the shock, the coilover. The other side's a little different story. It's got kind of a weird bend here for the brake hose. I thought the other side, it runs it right ahead of the shock. This one, it looks like it's hard to see, but it looks like it might be up against it. But maybe I can do something here with the hose to kind of hold it away. And got that again, this side, got the bracket mounted there. So I think I'm sitting pretty good to go. I haven't clamped these down tight around the cables, knowing that I'm gonna pull all this off of the car again at some point. And then I got the front ran, so I'm using the original bracket here. And I was trying to figure out the right orientation for it because I welded a hole shut that should have been used for the locating tab here. So I don't think this is quite, I think it would be angled a little bit originally. But I thought this will work pretty good, especially with how these grooves are lined up in here. So I might run, when I get the brake cable in here, run it down and underneath and up to this, so, or the brake lines. And then I realized too, I got this for Cobra calipers, but the little banjo bolt here doesn't thread into the ABS caliper, so I'll have to figure something out for that and get some clips to hold it in place up here. But at least I'm getting a good idea of how I want to run things, and I feel pretty good about running it up this way instead of having it angled back or anything like that. I think we'll have plenty of room between the shock and everything. I guess the next question is where does the wheel and tire lie in relation to all this? So, but we'll find that out. So I thought I'd figure out where that would go. I found some old brake lines from the kit, so I know what ends and everything I need for up in here, but I'm gonna make up my own brake lines and keep on rolling with that. So I might go and buy some tools. I don't know what I have for making the flared ends and stuff. I got just one of those cheap, like Harbor Freight tools. So I might get something different for that. But I'm gonna keep piecing this thing together. I did go on, ordered a bunch of brake line tubing, fittings, unions, T's, junction. Got all that stuff on order. I'll get that other T ordered. All right, excited to have some more parts in so that I can get the brake system done on this car. I don't have clips to hold the lines up underneath the car, but I figure in the meantime I got some of that strong Gorilla Tape stuff. So I can at least get it up in place, hold it up in place, and worry about the clips later. But I made an Amazon order the other day. I'll just show you some of the stuff. So one of the things I ordered, I know the Eastwood brake clearing toolkit was like 240 bucks or something, and I thought, well, I'll take a chance. I ordered this one off of Amazon. I think it was like 85 bucks. But it's got all the stuff to do: 3/16, 3/8, 1/4 inch, and 5/16 inch line. Got a tubing cutter in here, but it looks like it's pretty simple to use. It looks like everything's set up the same way as what the Eastwood tool is, but I don't know what the quality is compared between this and the Eastwood tool. I'm excited. I got all my parts I need to get my brakes together. So I got a bunch of fittings for the end of the line. I got some unions, I got some T's, I got some clips. I ordered new banjo bolts, so they are the same length as what came with this kit. And I think that's probably what bolted into the Cobra calipers. But the thread pitch is different on these ATS Brembos. They're like an M10 by 1, like a 1.0 pitch. And I do have one line temporarily in place here, so I just snugged it down here to kind of show where it was. I know these brackets here before aimed it so that the line so the line went in and angled ahead towards the front of the car instead of straight up and down like I have it. And then the line actually came over the top of the frame rail here and curved around and went backwards into the fitting for the brakes. Yeah, here's shop supervisor. He's all antsy and wants to go in the house. But I thought this would work well for me, and it might keep it away from the tire a little better, because if you angled it forward, then this line starts to angle back, and I wasn't sure if it would get in the way of the wheel and tire. So we'll see how that works when it's all said and done. I can always change it, because I figure I'm going to have a brake line come through here from the master cylinder down to a T, and then go forward to this one, and then up and around. And I don't know if I'll run it through the cowl or what I'll do and over to the passenger side. So that's TBD yet. And then I'll run another line probably out and back down this fender well and back to the rear suspension there, to the rear. But that's the parts I have for now. I think that's my plan for the day. Oh, I got a little deburring tool. So, and then it's got some extra deburring tools for when those wear out. A lot of these parts, like I said, they came from Amazon, but some of these junctions, these clips, these T's came from the Stop Shop. But it looks like they're pretty good about their customer service. So I had about 5 different packages. Each of them had this paper in there. Family-owned local business in Columbus, Ohio. So it's asking for writing a review. So once I have all this stuff on the car, I don't know, it all looks like good stuff just looking at it. And then I have the brake line there too, and then that came with some extra fittings and stuff too. But after watching some reviews on YouTube, they recommended not using I suppose they're, I don't know, a cheap China part. And these ones look like they're pretty nice quality and have a nice angle on them for doing the flares, so, or the double flare. And I got a little tube straightening tool. I thought, well, I'm not that picky, but it was like 30 bucks. So I thought I'd give it a shot, and just to make it look as nice as possible. I know, again, I'm not going for show car quality, but I'm picky and I just want it to be nice. All right, so I'm out here working on my brake lines. So I had a tubing straightener. I've been using the bolt cutter. I got some old wire coat hangers hanging here that I tried out. Then I got this little bit of a tubing bender, and there's the tool sitting there, and that just pops into the vice grip there. But hey, shop supervisor, hey Barney. All right, so this is what I had made up. So this is for the left rear, driver's side rear. So I put a little T. You probably can't see it too well up in there, but there's a T up here in that stock location where it comes back on these cars. So kind of just off to the driver's side a little bit, near the hump for the axle and everything back there. So I got a T there, so I just needed a short line. So I cut a wire hanger, a wire clothes hanger, and went up underneath there and went from my T out to the junction for the brake hose. And that's kind of the shape I came up with there, if you can see that very good. And I flared some tubing on both ends Actually remembered to put the fittings on there, and they're facing the right direction. It does a pretty nice flare. I kind of learned that I need to take a file and kind of get the burrs out. And this thing's, if you get the burrs out enough, this thing's just long enough to kind of get down inside there. And I did a practice piece where I didn't file the end off very well, and you could tell it kind of tore up the end of the flare a little, but these ones look pretty good to me. And I just kind of worked the tube over that little pipe bender that I have, and it's pretty easy to bend by hand, and that's what I got now. Looks pretty close to the wire piece that I have. Maybe a little bit off, but I'm gonna climb back under the car and try to put it all up in place, and any sort of little additional tweak that I need to do I can probably do by hand underneath the car without really screwing this up. All right, I got a brake line on here, a hard line, so I got a T up under. I'll climb under the car and show you. But I got the car kind of jacked up to what I'm thinking will be ride height. And I'm kind of wishing I would have put just a little bit shorter U here so it didn't hang down quite as far. May have it up like an inch, but I think there should be clearance, because I don't think it's gonna bounce up much higher than that when it's all said and done. But yeah, got a clip here just kind of holding this in place for the time being. Got the hard line bent in there, and it's just got the fitting hand tight in there. So yeah, that looks pretty good. So there you can see the hard line where it goes out to the flexible hose, and I routed it through the upper cross member bolt holes. So it's going through the bolt holes for that the old upper control arm, and I got a T mounted right here. It's kind of jerry-rigged in there right now, but it's about where I want it to be. I might space it down just a little bit, but this line's pretty flexible. Again, these are all hand tight. I feel pretty good about how it is right now. So next I'll work on the line over to the passenger side. Then I'll probably start working on some of the lines for the front. So I'm feeling pretty good about how that is. So next I'll work on the line that goes over to the passenger side. Well, it's New Year's Eve day today, so I want to get out here and get as much done on this car as I can. Got the shop supervisor out here. Say hi, Barney. Say hi, Barney. Anyway, I want to try to get as much of this brake system done as I can today. I did order a proportioning valve yesterday, and I kind of have an idea of where I want to put that at the front end of the car. I was thinking about this some more, and it's kind of bugging me, and I thought if I have enough line left to replace it, I probably will. In the meantime, I'm not sure how much I'll have left. I got a 25-foot spool of it. But I thought, just for a little more practice, I might pull that off of there, take about 2 inches off or so that it just curves right up underneath here. But I figured that'd be about 1.5 inches, 2 inches of length off of there, and rebend that and just put it back in place and continue on with the rest of the brake system. I figure I'll probably run a short length with a junction, because it'll come up and over that subframe connector there. But I figure I'll put a union in there somewhere instead of trying to, well, maybe. Yeah, because it'll have to run from that T up and over that subframe connector, then up to the front. So I'll probably put a union in here somewhere, so I can at least get that line done up from here and over to just inside this rocker here, basically. And then I'll probably run a separate line from I think I'm gonna run the proportioning valve up inside here somewhere. So I'll have to have a few odd little bends and then run it out along the rocker molding there inside the pinch weld. And I'll work on getting these front brakes done. But what I was getting at before was, once I have this section done out to a union out here, I think I'm gonna get that differential up in place. So I'll put in the Maximum Motorsports tie rods here, and then get that differential up in place just to start getting an idea of where things are gonna be. So here we go. Like I said, it's New Year's Eve day. Gonna see how far I can get along with this. Again, I don't like showing time lapses of work. I'd rather just do the work, because I'm back and forth, up and down off the floor, and no one really wants to watch that. So I'm just gonna probably take a pause every once in a while, like I've been doing, showing what progress I've made, any hiccups that I have, and then what I'm doing to move on. All right, I know I usually say I don't record myself working, but I thought I'd take an opportunity to do that. So here's my template for the right rear, so the passenger side rear. So it'll come out from the T here and then go out to the wheel, and I'll route it through the upper control arm mount again. And just in case I forgot to say it before or forget to say it in the future, I'm going to put little rubber grommets or something inside those bolt holes for the control arm, so that this isn't rubbing and chafing on those control arm brackets. And then this is where it'll mount up to the braided line out at the wheel. But I got a couple cutting tools here, some other tools laying in the way, my deburring tool, cutters, and then I got my line right here, and a straightening tool. That's pretty much everything that I'm using to make these lines and get them up under the car. Oh, and I got some string for measuring length, and a yardstick. Oh, and I got a file too. Basically, I'm going to take the string and measure out the length of this, use my yardstick to determine what that is, straighten this tube out, and start with the straight tube and start putting my bends in and the flares on and so on and so forth. So I'll just record myself doing this. So after spending some time bending all this up, you can see it's a pretty close replication of what I did with the coat hanger wire. But I'm feeling pretty good about that. So that should go up under the car and fit pretty well. I'm glad I watched some YouTube stuff on bending lines. So this is a nickel copper NiCop line, and it's, as you could see, it was pretty easy for me to bend by hand, except for like when you got to just having a short length there, it took a little bit of effort. But if you have any length of line, this stuff, it bends really easy. So next step is getting it up under the car there. So I thought I'd take a moment to show this real quick. So I got this other hard line to the passenger side in place. You can see it kind of goes up through that upper control arm. So you can see it loops up from the braided line, then down and up through that upper control arm bolt. That comes over through the inner bolt hole. And again, I'll put rubber grommets in that or something eventually. And up above here where the differential is going to be, right up in here, to the T that's mounted to the original location for the solid axle. So next, with it being really tight right here, but I'm going to try to run a line into here, then down, or maybe over. So it goes along the frame rail here, then up and over where this e-brake cable originally came in, and then down and over to the pinch weld over there. So I'll probably put a union in somewhere in this vicinity over here somewhere. All this bending of brake lines is taking a lot longer than I expected. So there's that control arm mount up to the T. And then I've been working on this for a while. So this is the line that's going to run up to the master cylinder. So you can see, again, I used my wire coat hanger, and this will fit up kind of snug up against here. I'll get it kind of figured out and maneuvered around the best way I think I can. But I'm kind of thinking right about there is how it's going to sit. So I went up and over where the old e-brake cable went. So hopefully I'll have room if I still run the Fox style e-brake cable. Then it goes out and above. And then it'll sit here, and I plan to have a union. If I can get this fitting down now. There we go. So we'll have a union right here next to the rocker panel. And you can kind of see it there, hopefully. But it goes up and over that subframe connector. Okay, so I thought it was time to get another video uploaded. I didn't get the whole brake system done like I was hoping to over time. It's just been a lot slower going than what I expected. I showed like bending up some lines and all that, getting them in place for the rear at least. Then I kind of hit the brakes a little bit, so I got the Wilwood proportioning valve. So I thought I'd actually mount it up in here. Then I started thinking, well, I'm going to have all these different lines for all the Hydro Boost and everything, and ignore the wiring here because that's going to get tucked, I think. Or that's my intention, is to tuck all the wiring up on the inner side of the fender. But I was thinking about this some more, and then I thought, well, maybe I could stick it up under the car. I just thought I'd show you my thought process for some of this. So I thought, well, maybe I can take this proportioning valve, here's in and out, and pop it up here, just underneath the car, so it's got quick, easy access to it. Then I thought, well, that's awful close to the front tire. It's going to be taking a lot of stones and road grime or whatever. Then I thought, well, maybe I can move it back a little further, and this is partway down the driver's door, and here's like a nice little indent, so I thought this was a good spot to put it. So it's further away from the front wheel, and it's got like a nice little spot to kind of keep it up out of the way. And it's not the lowest part of the car either. The subframe connector is lower and everything there. And I still wasn't 100% sold on that, but it's still an option. And I thought, let's tuck this guy back here. So here's the rear brake line. It comes up over that subframe connector, and ignore the parking brake cable for the moment. I'm going to talk about that in a second. But then I thought, you know what? It's like, boom. And it's like in a nice spot to access. It's at the rear corner of the door, basically, just ahead of the torque box, and it's tucked up out of the way, and you could get to the brake lines up there too. And then I thought that'd be a really nice spot. The only thing that's really hanging down that might get abused a little is the knob past the floor there. But I could also build like a little, like a mud flap to mount to the side of the floor here, just to keep crap off of it. And then I thought too, just kind of carrying on a little further, and that's why the parking brake cable's hanging here. So this is the original parking brake cable for the Cobra IRS that came with the rear end. So I got it kind of plugged into where it should be, or at least close. I didn't pop the clip off and run it into place there. But then too, this has to tuck up here against that. And then what I'm concerned with is just kind of how it all routes through here. And if it's gonna leave room for that proportioning valve up here once I do get parking brake kind of set the way I want it. So I think I'm gonna be ordering some parts is what I'm getting to here. So I'm debating if I want to try to use the original IRS parking brake cable here and get that mounted up in place. I'll have to order some brackets that mount to these bolts to kind of hold it up in place there. And I definitely have to get it against this control arm down here. Otherwise, I think it's going to be in the way of the wheel here. So I did throw this thing on here to mimic where my tire is going to be. So yeah, definitely need to get that up and out of the way. And then the other thing too is roll under here. So if you're using the SN95 disc brake cable, basically, I just don't like how this goes. So the original Fox one ended here, and then it just had a cable that ran up through this pulley. So instead I could do this, but then you have to get a different mounting bracket up in here, just ahead of where the I don't know what you call this, parking brake bar comes out through the floor. So you have to get the SN95 New Edge style parking brake bracket that comes up and mounts in the trans tunnel here, drive shaft tunnel. So I'm kind of toying around with a few different ideas, trying to figure out exactly what path I want to go with, but I do think I'll have room for all the brake lines here, whether I do the Cobra one, the New Edge SN95 cable, or if I do order from LMR and get the ones compatible with the disc brakes, but meant for up to a 92 Fox that in here, and then just run the cable up through this little pulley system here. So I'm gonna do a little toying around, thinking around, playing around, just think about the different options, and that'll be my next step. So I think I'll just end this one with that, trying to figure out what I want to do for brake cables here. I've been going on long enough just trying to figure this out. Again, this is me being picky about what I really want to do, how I want to have stuff laid out, kind of have stuff orderly, have things in a way that at least makes sense to me. So I think I'm going to end it there, and until next time and get some more things figured out, that's what I got for you guys this time.